Two security researchers saw Reddit complaints about McDonald's AI chatbot. Within hours, they had access to 64 million job applications, and the password they used was 123456. This is how curiosity became one of the largest data exposures in corporate history. How do you accidentally hack 64 million records? Well, in this case, by trying the world's most common password. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Two security researchers who stumbled onto this by accident found Reddit users complaining about Olivia, McDonald's AI hiring chatbot, giving bizarre responses. McHire is used by 90% of McDonald's franchisees. Millions of job seekers chat with Olivia, an AI made by Paradox.ai that collects personal data and administers personality tests. These researchers thought, let's do a cursory security review, and in few hours, what they found exposed more data than most corporate breaches in the history. So, where do you start testing McDonald's security? Well, in this case, by applying for a job. And so they did exactly that. They went to jobs.mchire.com and met Olivia. This isn't a form, it's an AI collecting email, phone number, availability, and addresses for the job applicants. Then came the personality tests, powered by Creatify.com. They saw phrases like enjoys overtime, select me or not me. These researchers called it a disturbing experience because the right answers were obvious. After the test, there was a dead end, awaiting human review. They tried prompt injection attacks on Olivia, but it was locked to preset response. That's when they asked, what does the employer side looks like? How do restaurant owners view applications? Well, in this case, it's through a login page with fatal flaw. And then they found the employer portal. At mchire.com/sign-in page, they found the employer login which forces SSO for McDonald's employees and their partners. But there was a smaller link which said login for Paradox team members. And without much thought, their words, they typed the username 123456 and the password 123456. And to their surprise, they were immediately logged into the admin portal. Yes, 123456 is literally the world's most common password. It's a digital suicide, but this was not any account. They had become the admin of a test restaurant. All employees were Paradox staff. They could see the whole system. Exciting for research though, but no real impact till now. That was about to change though. So, how do you turn test access into real impact? Well, in this case, by finding an API that controls everything. So these researchers, they applied to their own job posting to see what they can do next. With admin access, they applied to a test job posting to see both sides. Restaurant owners view all Olivia conversations and intervene at key stages. While viewing their test chat, they spotted something in the developer tools of the browser, an API call which seemed to reference a customer experience manager. The key parameter of this request was the lead_ID of the chat. Their test applicant was lead_ID 64185,742, which had sequential numbering, which is always dangerous. So they tried decrementing the number, changed 64185,742 to 741, and surprisingly, what came back wasn't their data. It was a real McDonald's applicant's personal data. They realized this API accesses every chat interaction that ever applied for a McDonald's job. Scary. So, what data could they access? Well, in this case, everything about 64 million job seekers. And they found the scope here was staggering. They found names, email addresses, phone numbers, and other details for every applicant. They also found candidacy state and every state change, form inputs the candidate had submitted, like shifts they would like to work, etc. The most terrifying part is that they also found auth tokens to log into the consumer UI as that user, leaking their raw chat messages and presumably other information. Based on lead ID numbering over 64 million, they could access 64 million McDonald's applicants' data. And the scariest part is anyone with McHire access could retrieve this data. So this wasn't just a breach. It was a systematic exposure of vulnerable job seekers trusting McDonald's with personal information. Realizing the impact, they immediately began responsible disclosure. But there was a problem. How do you report a vulnerability this massive when the company says, don't worry about the security? So here, finding someone to tell became its own nightmare. Paradox AI's security page literally said customers do not have to worry about the security. There were no bug bounty programs, no contacts of their security executives, no processes related to security reporting. The security researchers emailed random employees hoping someone would listen. Meanwhile, 64 million records sat exposed. On June 30th, they disclosed to both the companies about the vulnerability. In the next 45 minutes, McDonald's confirmed receipt. In the next hour, default admin credentials were disabled. The next day, Paradox confirmed resolution. 2 hours from disclosure to patch. Actually, impressive response time. But the terrifying question is, how long were these active? How many others found the default password? Now coming back to the solution, what could have prevented this disaster? Well, cybersecurity 101 basics would have for sure. But let me show you exactly what went wrong. So there are two catastrophic failures here technically, and both could have been completely prevented. The first one is the default credentials. Never leave default credentials in production. This can be fixed by having mandatory password changes on first login, enforcing usage of complex password requirements, and implementing multi-factor authentication. To cut short, basic password change would have prevented this entire breach. And the second would be insecure direct object reference in APIs. Here, the API exposed sequential lead application IDs without authorization. And we can fix that by implementing access control. Before returning data, verify user permissions for that lead underscore ID. Authorization 101 basics, right? Along with that, implementing UUIDs instead of sequential numbers would help. Using random identifiers like this can't be enumerated. And finally, implement indirect object reference like mapping external IDs to internal keys at the server side. Here, users will never see real identifiers. Apart from technical stuff, having secure business processes implemented would have saved the day as well, like having periodic security audits during development, penetration testing exercises before the launch, setting up bug bounty programs, even automated scanning catches default credentials. Here, the code fix is simple. Just update the code to also check if the user is allowed. So instead of only checking lead underscore ID, add user underscore authorized equals to true. That's basic access control. So what does this mean for job seekers? Your data is only as safe as the weakest password, and the implications go far beyond McDonald's. This isn't just McDonald's. It's what happens when we rush AI without security foundation. AI systems now decide hiring, credit, healthcare, finance. If companies can't secure login credentials, how do we trust algorithmic decisions here? So protect yourself. Assume online applications create permanent profiles that could be exposed. Demand transparency about data protection. Diversify your job search platforms. For companies, this was preventable. MFA, access controls, security audits, penetration testing, cybersecurity fundamentals, right? And definitely not advanced technology here. And the tragedy? This affected vulnerable job seekers trusting a major brand protected by the digital equivalent of leaving keys in your car. The security researchers did responsible disclosure right. Both companies responded quickly. But this should terrify organizations rushing AI deployment without security consideration. 64 million job seekers learned that their data was only as secure as the default password. So, what's the key lesson here? Cybersecurity fundamentals matter more than AI. Your most sensitive data might be protected by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Make sure you know who's holding the keys.